Hello there, this is Benny.
And this is Kyle.
And you're listening to The Doctor's Watcher,
the fire extinguisher enthusiasts podcast about every episode of Doctor Who.
That reminds me that, since these war machines are using fire extinguisher weapons, it's very similar to the Daleks in the Peter Cushing movie.
Oh, that's right. I knew I had seen that before somewhere.
I guess the film negativization effect didn't work in color, and the films were in color, so they gave them these fire extinguishers instead. And listeners, it's not the same.
Yeah, I do prefer the film negativization, but I understand wanting to keep that strictly for Daleks.
Yeah. The Peter Cushing films are different canon anyway.
Yeah. I think there's maybe some Doctor Who comic or something that ends up depicting the cover of one of the Peter Cushing movies actually in a video rental shop. So, there's some way that it's canon that they are actually fictional movies about the non-fictional Doctor.
That makes sense because they do just kind of replicate existing serials more or less with changes. So it's maybe Ian or Barbara or Susan told somebody about their adventures, and then that person decided to write a film script about it.
Yeah,
That's
totally
fun. So Kyle, when you weren't playing Magic the Gathering with Doctor Who Commander Decks with me, what have you been up to?
Indeed. So something that I've been up to in the past few weeks is watching the series finale of Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, not just the season finale, but the series finale.
Indeed.
You'll notice, listeners, that that's what Kyle said. And it's weird to think about that we're not going to get any more Discovery, because it was the first of the new, this new era of Trek to come out. And we had 5 seasons of it, and it always feels a little weird if you have a Star Trek show that doesn't run for 7 seasons.
It does, I agree. That's kind of
3, I suppose.
Yeah. But yeah, it was pretty good. I think in my opinion, I think the 5th season was probably the best.
It was pretty good.
It's been a while since I've watched the previous ones, but yeah, I enjoyed the 5th season a lot. The actual ending, you can kind of tell where the season ended, and then the producers are oh, we're going to cancel the show. And then they're oh shit, we need to write the end of the series.
Yeah. My understanding is that is basically what happened.
And yeah, I feel that's, it's pretty clear when you watch it, what sort of the tacked on scene at the end was, but I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel there are probably a few choices that I think they would have made differently if they had known going into season 5 that it was going to be the last.
Yeah.
But even with them not knowing, I feel the story and the themes of the season actually worked pretty well as sort of the finale season.
Yeah, I've always kind of had mixed feelings about Discovery, because I really like the characters. I like some of the stuff that they do with the plot. And at the same time, I feel they never quite realized the potential of the show.
Yeah.
And I think some of that was that they were still trying to figure out how to do a Star Trek show in the modern streaming era of, 10 episode seasons and high budgets, and trying to get a streaming audience interested in your show when there's 10,000 other things that they could be watching and things like that. So on the one hand, I don't think that the show ever gelled 100%, but on the other, I do think that they used what they learned on Discovery to plan out Strange New Worlds, and I think that Strange New Worlds really benefited from that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Meanwhile, I too have been watching sci-fi shows. I watched the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte, which is the new Star Wars show that's coming out now. So far, so good. I went into it really not knowing what to expect. I was trying to keep my expectations low, and I like it so far. I think that there's some real potential there, and I'm curious to see where it goes. I like the characters. I think it looks great. I think it's really cool that this is a show where the creator, writer, producer, director is a woman, and I think she's doing a really good job of it so far, and it's about time. In Star Wars specifically, but also just in general, we need more shows run by people other than men. So
yeah, for sure.
Love to see it, and literally loving to see it so far because it's been really good. I'm not just saying that to be woke or whatever, but like, no, I genuinely think it's good.
Nice. How many episodes are out so far? Just the 2?
Yeah, just the 2. They did the premiere was like a 2-episode drop.
Cool.
Most of their shows seem to be doing that these days. I assume it has to do with like streaming numbers or something.
Yeah, presumably.
And another sci-fi show that we've been watching lately is Doctor Who. So, Kyle, were you going to tell me that they're still making Doctor Who today? No, I'm kidding. Of course, I've seen other modern Who, but yeah, we've been watching. Oh, and I promised to forget what happens in these episodes by the time, by the time the Doctor's Watcher reaches it, I probably will have forgotten.
30 years from now, yeah.
But I've really been loving this season so far. Like,
yeah, me too.
I think they haven't had a dud yet. We're not quite caught up yet because we started a little late. We watched the specials, the ones with David Tennant. We watched those with some friends of ours. And so we were waiting for them to, our schedules to align so that we could watch them together in person. And so we sort of fell a little behind on that. But now we have seen those. They were really good too. I really, really loved seeing David Tennant again. He was fantastic.
Yeah.
And Catherine Tate, of course. She is amazing. I love them both. And Ncuti Gatwa has been just fantastic so far. It's really interesting because at first, the first few of his episodes were really cartoony. And I was like, is this kind of the direction that they're going with this season? Russell T Davies is back.
They've got the Disney Plus influence.
Yeah. I was like, are these all good? And then we got to the one called Boom, I believe. Not to spoil anything for our listeners who haven't seen it yet, do go watch it. But we watched that and we were like, oh my God, holy shit. That episode was just really...
Yeah.
I'm trying to make a joke without going too spoilery. It blew us away, Kyle.
Nice.
And it really also showed the range that Ncuti Gatwa has, which I was like, fantastic.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
Well, the most recent episode, no spoilers, I believe it's called Rogue. I think you are going to quite enjoy that one, actually.
Oh, fantastic. We're 2 away from that, so cool. I'll be watching that soon, Kyle.
If you happen to have any Doctor Who stuff on like your Tumblr or whatever, you might want to mute it until you watch that one because it's going to be I'm sure already all over the internet.
Okay. Oh man, I'm excited now. And you know what else I'm excited about, Kyle?
What's that?
Classic Doctor Who. Specifically, Season 3, Episode 45, The War Machines, Part 4.
Indeed. Any listeners who are obsessed with number patterns, Season 3, Episode 4-5 should be exciting.
3-4-5. That's fun. And Kyle, won't you tell us once again, for the 4th time so far this serial, that you watched it on Ripbox?
I did indeed watch this episode on BritBox.
Yay! Thank you,
BritBox, for having the serial.
And thank you. Where did this one come from? Was this the one that was from like Australia originally, or something like that?
And yeah, Nigeria and Australia.
Well, thank you both, Australia and Nigeria.
Do you recall from about 10 or 15 minutes ago what the cliffdangler was?
Yeah, I better remember. The cliffhanger was to no one's surprise that the army was unable to stop the war machines, and so it is up to the Doctor.
Indeed, the Doctor strikes a dramatic pose. The war machine is driving toward him. Everyone's freaking out. Ben's trying to get the Doctor to move. But the Doctor's just like, just wait.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
And what happens is that the war machine drives past the Doctor, and then it stops in front of the soldiers. And it kind of like turns around, and the Doctor makes what looked to me to be sort of like a calm down gesture at it.
Interesting. Now I'm picturing him doing the thing that like Crocodile Dundee does, where he like kind of does the devil horns type thing, but like toward the eyes of the creature, and like gets it to settle down that way.
Yeah, it was kind of that same idea.
Nice.
And yeah,
Doctor Who, War Machine Whisperer.
The war machine just kind of like lowers its weapons.
Good little war machine.
And we cut to a pub where there's a newscaster on the TV saying that the war machine has been successfully put out of action, but the Ministry of Defense, I guess they do have one.
Nice. I guess if they have a Minister of Defense, they'd better have a ministry to go with it.
The Ministry of Defense has announced that further attacks on London might be coming in the next 24 hours, so everyone should stay indoors and keep calm.
And carry on.
Indeed. We cut back to the Doctor and Sir Charles Summer.
I was just thinking, that must have sucked back then to have to stay home, because this was before they had PlayStations, Kyle.
That's true. Like, what are they going to do?
Watch the BBC?
Can't even, like, go out in the backyard to roll your hoop and stick.
Yep.
So we cut back to the Doctor and Sir Charles Summer at Covent Garden. They are explaining to, I guess, the Minister of Defense that they think that the war machine was put into operation before it was fully programmed.
Oh, nice. So I guess the Doctor just like found an input that its processor wasn't prepared for, and it shut down. I have no idea. Maybe I should be quiet. We're about to find out. Let's see.
That you see, computers depend upon programming. That is the information that is fed into it.
Exactly, and my guess is this was put into operation before it was ready, sir.
See, listeners, this is what a computer is, for those of you who don't know. We realize this is the 1960s, and computer literacy is really not a thing.
You know, like, image recognition is a pretty difficult problem for AIs to solve. They're still kind of working on it these days. Mm-hmm. Like, that's why you have the CAPTCHA about, like, click on the squares that have a motorcycle in them.
I prefer not to think about how I'm training AI every time I do that, but yeah.
So, yeah, I think, you know, the Doctor just made sort of a visual image that confused the war machine too much.
Man, now I want a t-shirt with a picture of all the various, like, classic Doctors, and it says, like, click on any Time Lords that you see. It's like, you know, in a capture style.
And maybe, like, Time Lords with, or, like, Doctors with Masters mixed in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I dig it. Wait, I mean, like, Masters? What do you mean, Kyle? What's a Master?
So we cut over to the warehouse.
Do you mean the monk? Because he's a Time Lord. Sorry, all right, I have bits. I should let you talk.
So over in the warehouse, a worker reports that they have completed the first stage and they receive permission to activate another war machine, which they do.
Yeah, it's always like, oh, good job, we did it. We took out the war machine and they activated another one. Well, shoot.
Ben has been searching for Polly. You know, he's trying to reunite the Pollen ship.
Yes.
But
that's an excellent name. I think we did good. I hope both Ben and Polly stick around for a while because that's a good one.
He hasn't been able to find her anywhere, which he finds pretty worrisome. But the doctor is not particularly concerned. He's too busy with other shit.
My dear young man, I haven't the time to discuss Polly at the moment. If I'm going to analyze this mechanism, I've got a great deal to do.
Yeah, Ben, he's analyzing the mechanism. Ben is like, oh, I wish I were analyzing her mechanism.
The doctor takes his coat off. Apparently, analyzing the mechanism is some hot and sweaty work.
Yeah.
Oh, dear, I'm so hot. Wait a minute, let me take this cloak off.
He's really got to get in there. This is the Mechanoctor ship. Dokinism? Ooh, Dokinism.
Dokinism, nice. He hands his coat to Ben, and a key falls out of the doctor's coat pocket. Ben sees, you know, on the ground, the key's like highlighted as like you can interact with it. So he picks it up and pockets it, adds it to his inventory.
Okay. He doesn't mention it to the doctor?
No, he just pockets it.
Alrighty.
The doctor has apparently completed his analysis of the mechanism, and he announces that if he's correct, he thinks that there are 11 other war machines in London and that they're attacking at 12 o'clock today.
I love that you can tell that from the mechanism. Like maybe it has a serial number that's like X of 11. Special collector's edition.
12 o'clock today, 11 other machines like this? Good heavens, Doctor, what are we going to do?
Back at the warehouse, this newly activated war machine is getting tested. It drives around a little bit.
Sorry. When you said there was a war machine being tested, at that exact moment a car driving by went beep beep. I'm just imagining this war machine driving around the warehouse going beep beep. I'll see if I can I'll see if the microphone picked it up, and if it did, I'll try to boost the volume so you get the little beep beep.
As the war machine goes into reverse, it beep beep beep. So it drives around a little bit. It turns when ordered, but then it smashes some equipment, not just like boxes, but like actual equipment. With its hammer arm. And then it kills the worker that activated it.
Was that the equipment with the failsafe in it by any chance?
Back at the laboratory in the tower that we talked about, what is it, BT Tower, Post Office Tower is correct.
This Tower Enthusiast podcast.
Brett and the other guy in the tower are just like, I guess it destroyed the transceiver. There must be a fault in the programming that we need to fix.
Or maybe this is going according to a new program. Wotan's program.
Yeah, who knows what Wotan wants?
I think we're about to find out.
We cut back to Covent Garden, where a soldier is reporting to Sir Charles that they've rounded up everyone in the warehouse and they all seem like they've been brainwashed.
Dun dun dun. I mean, yeah, thanks for the recap. I guess we already knew that.
Major Green or whatever was among them and got rounded up. So the doctor and Sir Charles stop to ask him a few questions, but he claims to not remember anything.
Convenient. And does he have much emotion and inflection in his voice when he says that? Or is he pretty monotone?
He actually does have some emotion and inflection. And yeah, it seems like he's back to his normal self.
We'll see.
And the doctor seems to believe him that he doesn't remember any of this.
Oh, okay.
And the doctor thinks that this basically confirms his theory that Professor Brett and Wotan are behind it all. I'm not sure how that theory is confirmed, but...
Also, I think it's more Wotan than Brett, but okay.
Yeah. Sir Charles is like, cool, so we should go storm the tower now, right?
I mean, yeah, that's where the final boss fight is going to be.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you'd think the doctor is going to be into it, but he's like, whoa, dude, slow your fucking roll. Let's take it easy.
He's like, it wasn't my idea, so I don't like it.
Basically. The Minister of Defense asks the doctor what he suggests, and, of course, the camera cuts away before the doctor answers.
That means that his plan's the one they're going to go with, and the one that we're going to see.
I did appreciate, though, like, you can't just shoot somebody else's plan down without having a plan of your own to propose.
I mean, I guess it helps.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if their plan sucks, you should shoot it down, but it is nice when you've also got an alternative.
Yeah.
Some poor random person in London places a phone call from a public call box to report that there's another war machine in the streets, and he's looking at it.
Oh, does the Wotan signal come over the phone line?
No, the war machine just fire extinguishers the phone booth.
Also not an ideal outcome.
So this person who reported it is, I guess, presumably dead.
RIP.
The war machine drives off down the street, and an announcement goes out over the radio saying that another war machine has been reported in London and everyone should stay the fuck away from it.
And everyone just gazes longingly at their hoop and stick out the back window.
Uh-huh.
You're listening to The Doctor's Watcher. If you enjoy our show, please leave us a 5-star review and tell a friend. We appreciate you, listener. You can reach us by tweeting at Dr. Watcher or emailing thedoctorswatcher@gmail.com. And now, back to the episode.
Ben is talking about how if Polly is under Wotan's influence, she could be at any one of the, 11 locations in London where these war machines are being deployed.
Uh-huh.
But the doctor is still not concerned. This time it's for Spock reasons.
Oh, my dear boy, if we're going to worry about one person, we shall never solve anything, shall we?
Doctor, that's your companion you're talking about.
Uh-huh. Seriously.
And the ha at the end there, I feel like that's a little misplaced.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird how much he truly just doesn't give a shit about Polly being in danger.
I mean, there's a part of me that's like, maybe he figures she can take care of herself, or maybe he figures if she's been brainwashed, then the bad guys aren't going to do anything to her while she's sort of on their side, but that's not what I'm picking up from that line.
Uh-huh. Sir Charles gets an update over the telephone that the war machine is creating absolute havoc as it approaches Battersea Power Station, which you might recognize either from the Dalek invasion of Earth or...
I remember this. It's from the Pink Floyd album.
Indeed, which I probably mentioned in Dalek invasion of Earth.
That's how I know it.
Sir Charles and the Minister of Defense ask the Doctor what to do. I guess when the camera cut away earlier, maybe he didn't then say his plan.
He just gave a short version.
So they ask him what to do, and he suggests that they capture this war machine.
Cool. I dig it.
I think our only one chance is to paralyze the nervous system of that mechanism. Yes, and if I remember rightly, it will be electromagnetically controlled. Yes, in other words, gentlemen, we've got to capture it.
Nice. The nervous system, huh?
Indeed. He wants to get that Dokinism ship going.
Yeah, it does feel a bit like the, I don't know, like this is a mechanical living thing, which I dig. That's super cool.
Yeah, I kind of thought that, like, it was just Votan who's, like, the intelligence or kind of living or whatever, but they're kind of acting like the war machines are kind of alive as well.
Maybe it's like a hive mind.
Yeah, probably that sort of thing.
Cool.
We get a brief scene in the lab in the tower where Polly shows up saying that she is submitting herself to Wotan's judgment since she allowed a prisoner to escape.
Dang.
And Professor Brett tells her that they'll deal with that later, but if she's found guilty, she'll be destroyed.
I think that's kind of what we figured.
Yeah. In the meantime, Assistant Crimpton puts her to work, basically. The Doctor demands equipment to set up a powerful magnetic field with, a range of about 20 feet.
Okay, I mean, I guess if the central nervous system is electromagnetic, that might help disrupt it.
They ask him where to set it up, and they pull out a map of London, and they're looking at, like, where the war machine currently is.
And they're like, let's see, where can the BBC get a filming permit?
The Doctor points out a few streets that they could close, and that would, like, funnel the war machine into, some area on the map. And that's where they can stage their equipment.
Excellent. Random streets. That seems like we can get filming permits.
Sir Charles is concerned because the Doctor's plan basically involves making a square of cables, and the war machine needs to be, like, inside the square, but it's not obviously going to cross a cable to get into the square.
Unless it's like a cat and, any space that you set out for them, even remotely box-like, they will go and sit in.
Yeah, I've never actually tried this, but I've heard that you can just put, like, a square of masking tape on the ground and your cat might go sit there.
Yes, we should try that.
The Doctor is just like, yeah, of course it's not going to cross the cable. That's why we're only going to set up 3 of the cables in advance, and we'll run the 4th cable after the war machine's already in position.
Thrilling.
The Doctor is planning on doing this himself, but Ben's like, dude, you're too old. I volunteer to do the job.
Person of action.
Yeah, he doesn't want to lose his new title.
Excellent.
Especially to the William Hartnell First Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
We cut to the street where they've set up 3 of the 4 cables, and it basically looks like they've set up 3 of the 4, I guess, edges or whatever of a wrestling ring.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, they've got, 4 posts and, like, about 2 cables kind of strung from post to post around, like, 3 of the 4 sides.
And in this corner, we have the strong-arm sailor, I don't know what's another word for sailor that I can use for Ben. Ben, whatever his last name is. And in this corner, we have the War Machine. The War Machine would make a pretty good wrestler name.
Yeah, definitely. So it's all set up. It's ready to go. The War Machine is driving towards it, but then it just stops, like, outside of the ring.
It's gotta do a quick promo to the crowd.
It's spinning around, waving its hammer arm up and down. Crowd's gone wild. They're all cheering.
They're all doing the hammer motion back at it. This is like, the crowd involved cheer.
Sir Charles is kind of like getting antsy and is like, well, shouldn't we like run the fourth cable now? And it's like, dude, you gotta fucking wait till it goes into the ring, or, that was the whole point.
Yeah, like, what's he picturing right now?
And, eventually it does drive into the ring.
Excellent.
And as soon as it does, Ben strings up the fourth cable.
Nice.
And Sir Charles flips a switch, and the War Machine starts just kind of like driving back and forth inside the square.
Okay.
And the Doctor heads down to the street and climbs into the square with it. I guess he and Ben are like tag teaming now.
Excellent.
And the Doctor goes and basically just like pulls some cables and wires out of the War Machine's back until it stops moving.
1, 2, 3, ding, ding, ding.
And the bell dings, and Sir Charles turns the switch off, and the War Machine's neutralized.
Nice.
They start to think about how they're going to get it back to Covent Garden, and then we have a time skip because now we are back at Covent Garden with the War Machine.
And they're like, boy, we're glad we figured out how to get it over here. That was a lot of work. Never mind that. Let's check it out.
The Doctor's apparently been working on it for a while, and he thinks he's got it just about ready.
Oh, man, the Dokinism ship is moving along. And now he's so close.
I've made an important readjustment to aid and change the purpose of this machine.
Oh, he changed it from a war machine to a peace machine. And as he reaches out and takes its hammer arm gently in his hand, a love machine.
So he has been activated. They don't say if they're activating peace mode or love mode.
Excellent.
And he basically sends it off, and Ben asks what it's going to do. The Doctor didn't like verbally give it any orders or whatever. And the Doctor says that it all started in Brett's offices in the post office tower, and that's where he thinks it'll end.
The big showdown boss fight will be in the tower after all. How is it going to reach the top of the tower? I hope it has a very large elevator.
Yeah, it's going to have to take the industrial elevator.
Yeah.
Ben's like, Polly's probably there at the tower. And the Doctor is just like, oh, nothing we can do about that now. My war machine has to face Votan before noon.
I get that he's trying to save all of London and the world. But, like, we were talking earlier about that growth the Doctor's been making, and this is feeling a little less like growth.
Yeah. Ben is basically just like, fuck that, it's not noon yet. And he rushes out to try to go save Polly himself.
Person of action.
Professor Brett and Crimpton give the order to prepare for attack. It's supposed to start in 11 minutes. So I guess we're at 11:49 a.m. now. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, the Minister of Defense Sir Charles Summer and the doctor are in a car, and the doctor is explaining that his machine will face off against Wotan, and then everyone who has been controlled by it will return to their normal selves.
Nice. Sounds good.
Ben bursts into the lab at the tower, telling Polly to get out, but she refuses. She says her place is with Wotan.
Ben, you're going to have to give her a smooch to break the spell.
Uh-huh. He doesn't quite go there yet. He just goes to, like, physical force, basically. He just, like, grabs her and starts, like, dragging her out of the room.
Not a fan of the optics, but to be fair, she is mind controlled, and this place is about to be, like, you know, robot deathmatch central. So I'll give him a pass on this one.
Yeah. He drags her out as the war machine, or the peace machine rather, arrives and drives into the room, fire extinguishing everything in its path as it goes.
Oh man, and you can hear Craig Charles say, 3, 2, 1, activate. That's a Robot Wars reference for those of you who never watched that BBC show. It's kind of like BattleBots, but the UK version.
But better.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's fire extinguishing everything. Crimpton gets fire extinguished. And he falls to the ground. Wotan also gets fire extinguished, and after a few moments, it basically blows up.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not like a huge explosion, you know, it's like when you're, you know, in a movie when a computer blows up, basically. There's like a lot of smoke and whatnot.
Yeah, fair enough. But did it feel at least pretty like final? Like that's it. Okay, good. That's all we needed.
Yeah, definitely. And after this happens, Professor Brett does seem to like return to his normal self.
Oh, good.
And he sees the dead Crimpton on the floor.
He's like, Crimpton, get up. Quit slouching.
The doctor arrives at this point with Sir Charles, and Sir Charles asks him about the other war machines, and he says that they are
all immobilized, Sir Charles, waiting for orders. Orders that will never come.
Yeah, we'd better go and disassemble them just in case.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Oh, nobody figures out the frequency.
Professor Brett is like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about? And Sir Charles is like, oh, ask the doctor. But the doctor has already left the room.
So I guess it does raise the question of how much Professor Brett was in on this and how much he really was just totally mind controlled.
Yeah, it seemed to me like probably it was most or all mind control.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one.
Yeah, it's not necessarily clear, but that was the impression I got.
All righty.
We cut to the doctor, who is just kind of like standing around outside the TARDIS, waiting, I guess.
Well, he doesn't have his keys.
Ben and Polly come running up to him, and they tell him that Sir Charles has been looking for him because he has a message from Dodo.
Oh.
Apparently that's who the doctor has been waiting for, is Dodo. But the message is that she's feeling better and she wants to stay here in London, and she sends her love.
Oh.
Her love? There's gratitude for it. Take her all the way around the world, through space and time.
Come again, Doctor?
What? Oh, nothing, my boy, nothing.
Well, I think you're about to find out, Ben.
Ben and Polly just leave, basically. You know, they deliver the message, now they're walking away.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe they won't find out.
Polly wants to watch the doctor for a minute because she thought the police box seemed strange, and like the doctor himself obviously is kind of weird. Mm-hmm. So they stop and turn around to watch. They see him unlock the police box or the TARDIS and head inside. And then Ben remembers that he's got this other key in his inventory.
Uh-huh.
And Polly's like, well, let's go give it back to him. And Ben's like, I can't. I've got to get back to the barracks. You know, I guess his lunch break is almost over or whatever. But she's like, dude, come on.
She's like, doesn't this look more interesting?
Uh-huh. They head to the TARDIS. They knock on the door. There's no answer. And they try the door, and it's locked. So Polly takes the key from Ben and unlocks it.
I like Polly. She's being a person of action about this.
Yeah, totally. So she unlocks it. The two of them both head inside. The camera operator doesn't follow them. We just stay outside. So we see them head in. And of course, as soon as they do, the TARDIS dematerializes. And the words on the screen say, Doctor Who, William Hartnell.
Wow. And that's it for Dodo?
Yep.
Wow. They didn't even, bring back her actor for the last episode. Shoot. Well, I mean, I'm glad they saved the world from the war machines. Ben and Polly seem fun.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing the Pollen ship develop further.
Excellent. And Kyle, now that we've finished up the serial, since we love our listeners and value their time, would you recommend that they go check it out on BritBox?
This was a pretty fun story. I enjoyed watching it.
Excellent.
Parts of it don't necessarily make a lot of sense or get explained very well.
Fair enough.
And apparently it's Dodo's last story.
Yeah,
which,
so what is up with that?
Yeah, I guess she got sent to a farm upstate is what happened in that episode. And yeah, I thought it was weird that she doesn't even appear in the last two episodes of the serial or the season at all. Mm-hmm. I thought that was kind of bullshit. The Doctor Who wiki page for the serial says that her contract expired midway through production. Innes Lloyd later sent her a letter apologizing for her departure, saying that she was, quote, a victim of circumstances.
What the hell?
Yeah,
what a dick move. Oh my God.
I don't obviously know how BBC contracts worked at the time, but that seems weird and dumb to me, and it seems like circumstances that the producer of the show should have control over.
That is so not an explanation. I mean, what the hell?
So I shake my fist and shout, Innes! Innes!
Innes! I join you. My fist is also shaking.
So yeah, Dodo's last story. This serial does not have weird aliens or anything. It does have an intelligent computer. Mm-hmm. And of course the actual war machines themselves.
Yes.
And
I really like that everyone just kind of treats it as a given that a sufficiently advanced and connected computer will try to wipe out all human life.
Uh-huh. And of course the whole serial does exist and is on BritBox. So I guess I would probably give it a soft recommend. If it sounded like a fun serial that you would enjoy, you probably will. Yeah,
and you'll get to meet Ben and Polly, who seem to be official companions. Now, I think what we've said is that to be a companion, you have to travel in the TARDIS and appear in more than one serial. So I think that they now count. Assuming that we don't start the next serial and the Doctor's just like, now where did those two go? Oh, well, it's just me. Let's move on. Knowing Innes Lloyd, I don't know. That seems like that might be a possibility.
Yeah, they could just get like fired between seasons.
Does remind me of Peter Purves being very salty about his departure on the show. And it really seems like this Innes character is not the best at taking care of his people.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
So one other fun thing I read about this serial is that apparently they refurbished the TARDIS prop before, before they did like in studio filming. I didn't look too closely myself, but I guess you can like see the differences and stuff if you know what you're looking for. And part of the refurbishment resulted in the roof of the TARDIS prop not actually fitting on it anymore.
What?
So apparently they just had to like carefully balance the roof on top of the TARDIS. And they did this for 10 years.
Oh my God.
Until eventually the roof of the TARDIS actually fell into the TARDIS while Tom Baker and Elizabeth Sladen were inside of it.
Wow.
And that's when they decided to retire the prop.
I mean, you'd think that someone would have fixed it by then or come up with some other better solution. But
yeah. Like just
that's a great story. So yeah,
build a new roof or something.
If you're ever watching an episode between now and I guess apparently partway through the Tom Baker era. Wow.
Yeah, anytime we see a shot of the TARDIS exterior, just remember that the roof is not actually connected to it.
Incredible. Doesn't seem like it would be that hard to fix, but maybe it is.
Yeah, who knows?
All right. Well, sounds like that's the end of the serial.
Indeed.
Kyle, out of curiosity, is it the end of anything else? Other than, I guess it's also the end of Dodo's time on the show. Besides those two things, is it the end of anything else?
It is, in fact, the end of the 3rd season.
OMG. Well, listeners, you know what that means. Our next episode will be the Season 3 wrap-up episode. So we'll be talking about the various serials and what happened in this season and, I don't know, looking back, talking about it.
Yeah, I haven't given Benny my notes about what that episode's going to be yet, so...
Yeah, at minimum, we always, rate the serials. We give them letter grades. So we'll see if we have any S tiers this time around, or if everything is A and B and C tier, or worse.
And of course, that wrap-up episode will be available for your listening pleasure in 1 week.
Wow. So soon. Well, listeners, thank you for joining us for another season and another serial. And we'll see you in 1 week for the Season 3 wrap-up. Bye.
Bye.
Well, now, have you any idea what caused the collapse, gentlemen? Oh, yes, this is all very simple. This is a computer, and this computer hasn't been completely programmed. Can you make that a little clearer, Doctor?
Yes, you see, computers depend upon programming. That is the information that is fed into it.
Exactly, and my guess is this was put into operation before it was ready, sir.
Because it had to be, because we launched our attack. You see, Mr. Minister, if we had not sent those army units in, the maniac behind this business would have had time to finish the job, and I doubt if very many of us would have been left alive.
Well, I hope we're just as lucky next time, gentlemen. Let me have that screwdriver, young man.
Next time? We must locate and destroy any further machines before there is a next time.